Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mindset Monday, where today we'll be talking about resilience during adversity. If you don't know me, so I'm Ali. I'm a business mindset and accountability coach from the One Life School, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Diandra, who is the coach and course creator extraordinaire behind Cancer Free Haven. And this is the second Mindset Monday in the series. So last week we did the benefits of accountability in business and health. So if you missed that one, go check it out. It's on our Instagram pages now. But today is all about how to remain positive and keep smiling no matter what life throws at you. So before we start, I just wanted to be upfront and say that because we're going to be talking about different types of adversity here today. So Diandra has gone through cancer twice, and that has not been my experience. So my experience that I'm talking about is my work burnout. But I wanted to say that it doesn't matter what adversity that you have gone through. You might have something different that's going on in your life at the moment, or that's happened, but the experience of adversity is universal and it affects us all in similar ways. So it's not about playing adversity bingo here, because such and such has happened, that this is better or worse. What we hope is that this live will help you get a few insights, a few tips, no matter what you're going through in your journey. So, with that being said, enough of me talking. Diandra, you launched your first coaching program when you had your cancer diagnosis. I think you said it was like in the first week. So many people would have really struggled with that and understandably would have not continued with the coaching program. So can you tell us a little bit about what was going on in your mind? What was your mindset at that time?
Yeah, so this is something that I teased on the last Mindset Monday. And for me, I had been working for about 6 months with a friend who we kind of did this coaching trade. I coached her on nutrition things because that's where I'm classically trained. My education's in nutrition. And then I also had been learning how to be a coach from her. So we spent these 6 months together, and then I was really learning all these skills and developing tools to help my clients. And then at that same time, I was helping my mom go through her own breast cancer diagnosis. So I was in Wisconsin and she was in Maryland. And I was the only one in my family that really knew about cancer, that had gone through it. And, I have all this research background. So I flew out there for 2 weeks the first time that she was in the hospital. And then from then on, I spent a week going back every month to be there to be her advocate. And so when I had my breast cancer diagnosis, I kind of knew that something was wrong, but I just didn't have time to address it. I said, I need to be advocating for my mom. I need to get her through this. And when she is stable, then I can take care of myself. So this coincided perfectly with the launch of my coaching business. And I just knew that I could easily have folded things up and said, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to focus on my health. But then I really thought about, who is out there that might need my help. So I know a lot of people in the cancer community are really big into artwork and drawing and painting, maybe even writing poems, making music, creating these beautiful things. So even if you're not in a business, but you're creating something that brings joy to others, you can either have, one or two choices. You can decide that you're just going to be in yourself and be deep in your own cancer journey, or you can go ahead and outreach to others and share this. The thing is, either way, we're building this legacy. So whether or not, I'm fully responding to treatments or it's not going that well, whatever I create is going to stay, it's going to remain. And so I think that's something that cancer survivors and small business owners, entrepreneurs have that same thing. We want to build this legacy. We want to leave something behind. And so whether it's, you being creative and sharing that, or, making a product that's going to help someone, that's going to make a difference in their life, I think facing that adversity and just saying, look, I'm going to just show up and I'm going to try to do a little bit here and there And if something happens, like health, finances, other struggles, then at least I did what I did before that hit.
Wow, that's amazing that, you had that bravery and that courage and conviction to know that you wanted to build your legacy and just to keep showing up and keep doing it. Like, I think there is definitely something there about connecting to something that's so much bigger than yourself, because when you're really struggling, it's easy to let yourself down, but it's if you have a bigger purpose, if you have a mission, if you're really, falling in love with the thing that you're creating, if you're falling in love with the people that you're creating it for, and if you're falling in love with the process of creation itself, all the better. But I really do think that we need that thing that's bigger than ourselves. And just to say, so my experience about adversity, this is why I made the comment about adversity bingo, because talking about you having cancer and then me having my work burnout, it's a bit different. But a couple of years ago, I had like a really kind of serious work burnout where I was feeling very, very stressed, very anxious, crying a lot. And I definitely thought about not showing up. I definitely thought about taking time off. And I decided not to because I really wanted to be there for my colleagues and my team, because we were all going through the same stuff. It was part of organizational change, and I didn't want to let them down. But it wasn't just me not letting them down. I also found that they gave me like a new reason and a purpose to be energized during that period where there was so much uncertainty and so much stress going on. So it's like the two ways, I didn't want to let them down, but they gave me back that tenfold. And yeah, just that really leaning on other people when you need them, and using them is just a real beautiful thing that can come out of the adversity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and there's amazing things I've seen, in the business community and also in the cancer community, that we're always, willing to lend an ear and to reach out to each other. And that, like, when I came from my first cancer diagnosis, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer at 23, and I just did not want to be a part of the cancer world. Everyone that I knew that had cancer was much older, in their 60s. I had a lot of friends telling me, oh, I knew someone that died from cancer. And that's like the worst thing. Like, that is not comforting to a cancer survivor and all those things. But then, this time with breast cancer, I said, I'm not going to do it alone. And, just being able to reach out to other people. And like I mentioned last time, having my breasty friend that was going through the same thing as me, that really, really did help. And I know that's one of the aspects that I want to bring to my course that I'm creating right now, that's Thrive from the Start, for new cancer survivors facing that breast cancer diagnosis for the first or a second time. Then that's what I want to add is having this avenue where people can connect and find someone who's going through it with them.
Mm. So can we talk a little bit about uncertainty? Because I imagine, when you have a cancer diagnosis, you don't know what the future holds. I mean, it's true in real life, no one knows what the future holds at all. But when you have that cancer diagnosis, I guess a couple more paths become a bit more likely. So how did you cope with the uncertainty of not knowing what your path was going to be?
Yeah. So I think the uncertainty is the hardest on your first diagnosis, because the first time you really don't know what's going on. You've never been here before. And like I said, unless you've had a friend that has gone through cancer, anytime in the last like 5 to 10 years, it's very different from the cancer world of maybe our grandparents. So I think just for me, what I was able to do with the uncertainty was to just say that that's okay, to release that. So I created a free resource called Circles of Control. And Allison, you were the one that actually mentioned this to me. And it's really based on Stephen Covey's work. And he was the psychologist. And he said, like, let's look at the things we can control. So, like, your diagnosis, you can't control that. You can't undo that. Like, we should have like this no shame, no blame mentality when it comes to our cancer diagnosis. Like we didn't know the things that we know now back then. Like 5 years ago, it would have been great if we were doing XYZ, but we can't change that. What we can change is the future. So I think just letting go of things like that, like, yeah, we are diagnosed. So what's the next thing? And then it's talking about like this middle circle of control is like things you can influence. So you can advocate for yourself. You can, talk to doctors, get a second opinion. You can experience these challenges and then inform others about them. If you have side effects, your doctor wants to hear, like they want you to complain so that they can help. So if you have something that you're really struggling with, there's usually something they can give you, either a medication or even like a lifestyle change or some integrative approach that will help you with this. So looking at that influence and then internally, like how you react to things. So like in my cancer diagnosis, I allowed to be upset, to be mad, to, sit in my car and scream and want to punch things. Like I allowed myself to feel that because I feel like the first time I went through cancer, I was just like too busy. I was working, I was in my master's program. I said, I just need to get through this. And I didn't feel the feelings. So I think that inner circle is really important of like, how are you reacting? So we all have this uncertainty in life. I remember when I was in like high school to college, I had a distant friend who had been on campus, on a college campus, and she walked out in the middle of the road and got hit by a bus. And she
Oh.
was immediately in the hospital, and everything in her world changed like overnight. And now I'm not sure, maybe 5 or 10 years out, and she's got this like thriving dance practice. And it's really amazing to see how she went from, dance not being a thing she could do anymore to reclaiming that and really moving forward in her life. So even if you're not facing this kind of diagnosis, there can be uncertainty in all different aspects. And so I think just looking at it from like, how can this be a good thing? Or I'll cite Bethany from My Guru Cancer. How can this be good for me? Instead
Mm.
of how can this be bad for me? So changing that mindset is great.
I like that you mentioned that you felt all the feelings as well, because, when we talk about resilience and adversity, I think sometimes people think, oh, it's just about, just remaining positive no matter what, and maybe pushing down your feelings and a bit of that toxic positivity. But actually, it's not. It's about feeling the feelings and then moving through them and, like you say, finding something good. So my story, when my dad got diagnosed with cancer, which was in 2007 now, so quite a while ago, he really helped me deal with the uncertainty of not knowing because, of course, I was really worried about what was going to happen for him. And he said this phrase to me that actually it felt like magic to me at the time because I wasn't sure, if he was going to be okay, what was happening. And he just said, Alison, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And I felt like that gave me so much permission to not have to worry. Like there might be time to worry and, feel scared in the future, but that bridge is in the future, and I'm here now, and I didn't need to concern myself with that. And I feel like that just cut through all the worry, all the rumination. And luckily, he's fine now and the time never came for me to worry. But that's something that I really try to apply to my everyday life when I find my mind like running away into the future and going, what if, what this might happen, and just thinking we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, wow. Thanks, Allison, for sharing that story. I know it's hard to be like vulnerable. Like we do so much online here that we want it to be curated and perfect and to just share something that's like so personal like that. I know my community really appreciates that. Yeah, we got a comment here saying my biggest thing was not showing my youngest kids that I was scared. Yeah, I totally resonate with that. Like you don't want others to worry about you. You want to be able to move forward. And sometimes I feel like cancer can be more exhausting managing your presentation, your outlook for other people. Like with my husband, I really tried to like act like I had it all together most of the time. Like, yeah, I would get upset, but then I would just say, like, look, he can't handle this. Like, he's,
Mm.
after my surgery, he's running the house, he's cooking all the meals, and then he's got work and everything on top of this. And I don't want to say that, I'm struggling with body issues, like he's seeing what happened to me too at the same time. So I think a lot of it is us like trying to put on that brave face for others. And I think it really comes from like where is this coming from? Like, are you doing it for yourself or are you doing it for someone else? And I think when you get down to it and come from yourself personally, then that gives you strength, right? Because you can write out your feelings. Like, I kept a journal like the entire diagnosis, and I felt like I could let everything out, and I felt heard because I was hearing myself. And so then I could be brave for everyone else because I faced this. And I mean, I recommend to every cancer survivor and non-cancer survivors for that matter, a therapist. So I met bi-weekly with a therapist from very close to the beginning of my diagnosis. And I just, whenever I had these things, the weight of the world on my shoulders, I just dumped them on her, and she, just listened. Like, she said sometimes, she's like, I learned more from you than I think you learned from me in our sessions. And it just gave me a safe space to just let it all come out and not feel like I was putting it on my loved ones that are already dealing with so much.
Mm. Oh gosh, yeah, that sounds like an absolute lifeline for you, that therapist. You mentioned I faced this and you're writing in your journal, and I think that's another tool that people can use when dealing with uncertainty. And this is going to sound really simple, but it's actually just facing reality and accepting reality for what it is. Because I think sometimes, we want things to be different. We want to be healthy and get the all clear. Or, if in business you want to hand in your notice or get your first 10K month or whatever it is, and that means that reality is then dissatisfying compared to what you want. And we can reject reality. It's not very effective because reality is still there, but we can moan, we can criticize, we can complain, and actually just facing it and accepting it is a huge thing to deal with that uncertainty, because all you have is the now. So the more you can accept the now, and if you can even find some form of enjoyment in that part of the now as well, that really helps in terms of dealing with adversity and recognizing that that's just part of your journey. Where you are now, this now is just part of your journey. It's not your whole journey.
Exactly. Yeah, that's wonderful. Awesome. Thank you for that.
So we like to leave everyone with a top tip just around resilience in adversity. Diandra, do you have a tip that you would like to share for our audience?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, my number one tip for resilience in adversity is going to be going off of Allison's story with her father. So, he was saying, like, don't worry about it. Like, let's just cross that bridge when it comes to it. So, in my cancer diagnosis, I was really worried. Like, when my mom got diagnosed, that was even harder. And then when I went through it myself, I was just like, okay, we're here again. But one of the books that I listened to on Audible is actually How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And this is a really old book by, I think it's Daniel Carnegie. And so he went around and he found people who were in hospice. So they had been sent home to die. And he interviewed them and talked with them and was like trying to figure out like how they were managing it. And a lot of them said, that they just like lived in these day tight compartments. So just one day at a time. So I'm going to worry about today. So what does today Diandra need to do? What does today Allison need to do? What does today Phil need to do? Like, and just focus on that, because the tomorrow Diandra, the tomorrow Allison, the tomorrow Phil can worry about tomorrow. So I just like took this wholeheartedly and I started saying it kind of as a joke, like what about my blood work coming up? Well, that's for tomorrow, Diandra, to worry about. Like today, Diandra can drink tea, have a smoothie, work out, but tomorrow, Diandra's the one that has to go to the appointment to get the blood drawn. So I think kind of just separating that, and then it really makes you more present. So like I would go out on a walk every day when it was nice weather out, so not so much right now with the winter. And then I just like stop and like stare at the flowers or, see the butterflies. And I had this really nice area near our apartment that had this lake, and I would just walk this lake loop and hang out with the ducks. And I felt kind of like an older person, like a retired person, just being in that moment and being in that nature like really did help. So just my advice is to just live for today, in today, and then just worry about one day at a time.
Mm.
And we'll worry about tomorrow.
It's beautiful. I love the idea of delegating things to your future self,
Yeah,
delegating your worries to your future.
yeah,
This is your problem. It will come, but it's your problem. It's not my problem.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes it backfires, but it usually works. And I think, yeah, just having like some track of a to-do list, but you can push things off. Like we only really need to do so much today,
Mm.
and the rest we can probably start on tomorrow. So, Allison, if you can give us your number one tip for resilience and adversity, that'd be great.
Yeah. So mine is that it's okay to say that you're struggling, and preferably to say it before before you're really struggling. Because if you're anything like me, you kind of deny that you're struggling to yourself. You just keep going, 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 doing more and more and more, think it's all okay. And then one day you're in a team meeting and your boss asks you, "How are you doing?" And you say, "Fine." And then you burst out into tears because you're really not fine. And that is a true story. And that's when I realized, I have to do something about this, because I think you can kind of just brush it under the carpet, thinking that, oh, it'll be better, I'll be fine, I'll just do this. But actually, it's very human to have limitations, and it's okay to find your limitations, and it's okay to be kind to yourself when you find them and to show them to other people, because I really struggle with that. I like to keep things kind of into myself, or maybe I tell my partner, but actually when you don't tell other people as well, you deny them from helping you too, and the joy and the service and the meaning that they can get from helping you too. And you deny yourself as well from potentially resolving the problem if that person can influence the situation that you're in.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful tip there, Allison. So I think it's okay to, just be honest and be like, this is where I'm at right now. Like I'm struggling, whether it's at your day job, at your business, with your family. But, just being honest, I think it's better to say that earlier so that you can get that help rather than just bottling it up.
Yeah, because when you bottle it up, you do just cry in front of other people like I did, because it's got to come out somehow, and that was the way for me. Brill. So I'm mindful of everybody's time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for this Mindset Monday. We really hope that you found the conversation useful and interesting, and that no matter how you're struggling, where you're struggling, that this hopefully has helped you in some way. Next week, we're going to be doing Mindset Monday again. Yay! And we'll be exploring everyday balance. So, how to remain centered and keep smiling while navigating everyday responsibilities.
Yeah, thank you, Allison. I think that's going to be a wonderful topic since we've got this day type compartments that we set up today. How do we actually make that happen and make that a reality? So, yeah, thanks again for everyone joining in for this Mindset Monday. I hope you have a wonderful Monday, wonderful Martin Luther King Day, and, enjoy the rest of your evening or afternoon. All right, take care. Thank you, guys.